Hey everybody, it's your boy Mastermind here. As you can see by my t-shirt, I just got back from the movies, and guess what I went to go see? That's right, Power Rangers. I'm going to talk about the things that I liked about it, the things that I didn't like about it, and then we're going to compare both of them and see which one is better. So first, the things that I like. I really enjoyed the character chemistry and dynamics of the characters. Like, it was interesting to see where each character came from and what their background is like, and then also to see how they kind of interacted with each other and how they worked together as a team and how the story played out and all the different personalities coming into play. So, like I said, these are different character personalities and types than what I'm used to in the old TV show, but they are definitely very interesting to see where they took certain characters. Also, having to earn their morph suits and what they had to do to get them was also a really nice thing. I mean, initially in the old TV show, they all kind of knew each other and Zordon just gave them the suits, and they just used them as soon as they called upon it. But with this one, it's like, okay, you guys have to work together if you want to be able to morph into your suits to fight Rita. So it was really a kind of way of bringing the team together, which I really liked. I was like, that was a very interesting thing to see them kind of train to become a team of Power Rangers. Another thing I liked about the movie was the humor. I also like to call it the cheese because when you look at the 90s movie, there was a lot of like cheese moments there, but this movie has its own version of cheese. Like, you have like what I call like the 2010s era of humor. You got like the come at me bro kind of thing. You got like the emojis and the texting and all that stuff. And you have like the nerdy references of, oh man, we're like being superheroes, or like, oh hey, I'm blue. That's my favorite color, blue. I'm black. No, you're not. Like that kind of stuff. And oh my goodness, this movie has putties. That was the one thing that the old Power Rangers movie did not have. There were no putties in it, which is actually kind of disappointing considering the fact that putties were pretty much in almost every single episode of the Power Rangers. And oh my gosh, Andre, hi, I'm Andre and I'm a black nerd. He mentioned that the Go-Go Power Rangers theme was in there, and even though it was for a brief moment, it's still in there, and oh my gosh, that was awesome. I was like, go, go, Power Rangers. Oh, it was awesome. Another interesting thing that I liked was the fact that they made Rita Repulsa as a Green Ranger, which was very different, but it was an interesting difference that they brought. And oh my gosh, Elizabeth Banks playing as Rita, oh my gosh. It was like watching like a horror movie. I would love to see Elizabeth Banks in like a horror movie because she came off as like something like, the first thing that came to my mind with the way that she looked and the way that she acted was almost like a mix of the girl from The Ring and Gollum from Lord of the Rings. It was just like an interesting like, sinister thing. I would love to have her play like a sinister role of some sort other than this one. And of course, I cannot go reviewing this movie without mentioning, oh my gosh, the cameo from Amy Jo Johnson and Jason David Frank. Oh my gosh, that moment saved the movie from utter defeat. In the movie theater, as soon as we saw him on the screen, everybody was cheering, everybody was clapping, and so was I. I was just like, yes! Finally, some old school Rangers in this movie, and it was awesome. Even though it was a short scene of, like Amy's looking at the Megazord and Tommy's got his little phone out like that, is still really, really cool. Another thing that I liked is that the designs for all the characters and stuff, they were decent. Like they obviously weren't that close to the original. They were trying to be a little bit different, but it was decent. Like it wasn't like that far out there. The suits for the Power Rangers, it was really, really nice. Very, very nice. Now on to the things that I didn't like about it. There was no Bulk and Skull. Not one. I mean, there wasn't even an attempt to try to make like a modern day version of Bulk and Skull. It was just like, there was a few bullies here and there, but not like, like you have the two people that are constantly trying to bully the Power Rangers or anything. So there was no Bulk and Skull, which was actually kind of disappointing. Also, there was no call to action during the morph sequence. I mean, it was nice that they said, it's morphin' time, but they didn't do like, pterodactyl, triceratops, nothing. They just hopped in their Zords and just, so it would have been nice to see it would have been nice to see at least some form of a morph sequence. I mean, you do see like the suit kind of, begin to graft onto their body and everything, but you don't really get like that action sequence setting up, And like I said, I understand that it's a reboot, so not everything's going to be the same, but some of these changes are like, I didn't like it. Another thing I didn't like was that Jason's character didn't feel like Jason at first. I mean, I understand, like, in the original, he's a karate class teacher, and he's all about that. And in this one, he's kind of like a guy where he's trying to get his life back, and he still was like a very good athlete and everything. But at least he got better at it, though. Like, he began to feel like the Jason character, he's the leader of the group, and he's kind of like helping to bring things into perspective. So at least they saved that there. And Kimberly just didn't feel like Kimberly. See, the Kimberly personality that I'm used to, again, and I know it's not the same thing, but it just didn't feel like Kimberly. I just wasn't feeling it. Also, Alpha 5 was kind of eh. I mean, he had an okay design, but knowing the voice of the character that they chose for this one, it just didn't fit in my opinion. I mean, how can you have the guy who's the voice of Fear from Inside Out and also the cop from Superbad, and he just didn't seem like a Power Ranger robot, like Alpha 5. Even when he did the I thing, which I thought was really cool, it just didn't quite feel the same. I mean, I know it's not the same, but I just didn't like it. And oh my gosh, could we please talk about the overused product placement for Krispy Kreme? I mean, Krispy Kreme is like an essential part of the plot. That's the crazy thing. I can't recall. Well, okay. In Demolition Man, Taco Bell was definitely Taco Bell was utilized in the plot, but it wasn't essential to the plot. I mean, in this one, Krispy Kreme is where the supposed crystal is. And they go to Krispy Kreme and they eat in there and stuff, and I'm just like, wow, they really want Krispy Kreme to be known in this movie. Good Lord. I wonder, it was funny, I was going to make a joke with a friend of mine. Anybody want to go to Krispy Kreme now? Also, Goldar's design was weak. I mean, it was really, really crappy, and he didn't even speak. Like, even in the movie, Goldar spoke, but they didn't give a voice for Goldar, but they gave a voice for Rita. What's up with that? And the Zord fighting sequences at the end, it just seemed too Michael Bay Transformers-ish. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just didn't feel like an actual fighting sequence. It just felt like I felt like I was watching a Transformers movie at this point. So I wasn't really digging it. And that's probably where their target audience is, like the Avengers and the Transformers and probably like the new Ninja Turtle type audience, but I just wasn't feeling it. Speaking of Transformers, the Megazord design that they came up with looks like an Optimus Prime rather than a Megazord. Like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, is that Optimus Prime? So that was the things I disliked. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes. Which one is better, the new Power Rangers movie or the old Power Rangers movie? Well, let's talk about the action. Okay, right away, I would have to say that the action sequences in the old movie were definitely much more packed. There was a lot more fighting sequences, and even the sequences with the Zords was pretty nice. Now, like I said, there were some action sequences in the movie, but compared to the old definitely had much more fighting. The new movie was more about building up the origin story, so to speak, so they didn't have quite as much action in it. So the winner for the action goes to the old. Now we're going to get into the story. Now, of course, the old story is about, 6,000 years ago, this being known as Ivan Ooze ruled the world, and now he comes back, and then the Rangers have to stop him from destroying the planet. It wasn't a bad story. It was actually, mildly entertaining for the time being. And then, you got the new story, which is all about them meeting together and, having to get the suits and stop Rita Repulsa from building Goldar, which she does, and ultimately having to save the planet. So I'd say, this one has to be a tie. So I'm going to give the story a tie for both. Now we're going to get on to the humor, aka the cheese. Now, the jokes from the old movie are very fitting for the time, and the little in-between things that they do is actually really nice. Matter of fact, there's an interesting comparison with the old movie versus the new movie. They have an interesting, I'd say each movie has its own distinct version of humor and cheese that is appropriate for its audience and time period. And I think it's funny that both movies have a sort of the same type of joke or type of humor into it. The one thing that I really liked about the ending sequence with the battle between each villains is that they were sort of similar. For example, in the old one, all it took to defeat Ivan Ooze was a shot to the groin, was a knee kick to the groin, and then he hit the comet. And in the new one, all he did was slap Rita Repulsa. It's like, whoosh, in one move, bam, she's out of there. I'm going to give the humor and aka the cheese to both movies, so that's another tie. Now we're going to go on to the hero. So when we get to know the characters from both movies, we see that there's a different character dynamic between each set of heroes. And you can see kind of how they work together to achieve that which is their mission. But unlike the new movie, the old movie had a much more already solid base, and everybody kind of had a great team dynamic. With this one, like I said, it showcases their struggles and them getting together to build to be a team. But as far as like actual set and capabilities and everything, definitely got to give it up to the old. Now we're going to go into the villain. Now, if you're going to compare the Rita Repulsa from the new movie to Ivan Ooze of the 90s, it's no contest there. I love Ivan Ooze. I think he's a very funny villain and everything, but as far as being like more sinister and more wicked and more, interesting to the plot, I got to give it up to Rita Repulsa. So for the villain, it goes to the new. Next up is replayability. Now, this obviously means, could I watch the movie more than once? Now, while I was watching the new Power Rangers movie, like I said, I went into it with a fresh set of eyes and ears. I didn't want to have any expectations for it other than I just want to watch a good Power Rangers movie. And like I said, while there were certain parts that I really enjoyed, and there were parts that I thought that was really, really cool, as a whole overall, like as the movie began to progress, if not for the nostalgic points and certain things, I probably would have not enjoyed the movie as much. So, unfortunately, for the replayability, I'm going to have to give it up to the old. Now on to the costume designs. Now, like I said, obviously, with the old, they're catering to the exact replica of the TV show, which is solid. And with the new one, like I said, they weren't bad. They were actually very, very decent. And, but the weird thing was that when you look at it and how it was, functioning, everything, it was really interesting. It's like with the new suits, you can see their booty. It's like, ooh, they got that tight fit ab area and the booty. It's like, ooh, Power Rangers, yeah, power. Who knew that they could have all this power? That was so funny that they put Kanye West music in there. Of course, they had it in the trailer, but they actually used it in the movie. I just thought that was really funny. But yeah, their suits are kind of like Iron Man mixed with Mystique, because of how it formed on their body and everything. But as far as like the actual overall costume design, not just of the Rangers, but also of the villains and everyone around them and everything, I got to give it to the old for that one. And finally, the special effects. Now again, I know that when it comes to comparing the old with the new has more advantage because technology has advanced far more greater, so that it can be a lot more realistic looking and everything. But let's consider each special effect for each time and then just compare how they look. Like I said, the old one, definitely all of the special effects definitely seemed appropriate and weren't too played out or too shallow. But with the new one, it just, like I said, it just felt over the top and not very entertaining. Like I said, it just felt too Michael Bay-ish Transformers, with the explosions, and I wasn't feeling the way that they made everything fight. Like I said, Goldar's special effects and everything, it just didn't fit well in my book. So I'm going to give special effects to the old. So after you tally up all of the scores, the winner in this case is the old. If you wanted to say what my overall score for the Power Rangers movie, I'd have to give it like a C. Like I said, it was okay, but it wasn't all that great. Like, usually when I rate things, it's on a scale of would I rent this or would I own this? And for this one, I'd say I would rent it, but I wouldn't own it. Like I said, it was a decent movie. Like I said, it wasn't a total waste of time, but I'm not looking forward to the Blu-ray and DVD combo that comes out with. So like I said, that's my review. Hopefully if you saw it and you liked it, that's great. And if you didn't, that's cool too. Like I said, there were moments in there that I did like, and there were moments that I didn't. And overall, like I said, the movie was okay, but it wasn't that great. And if anything, I can always just keep watching the 90s movie that I really enjoy. I'll be honest, the first time that the movie came out, I was just like, ugh, I wasn't even going to go see it just because I was like, ugh, you're ruining my childhood. But then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll give it a chance. Don't write something off right away. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the new Power Rangers movie, but let me know what you think. Feel free to leave a comment below, and if you like this video, feel free to like it, share, and subscribe for more future videos. So until next time, this is Mastermind saying, I hope you have a blessed day. See you later.